Continuing with some factoring patterns today, we want to talk about factoring trinomials. Now, when you're factoring trinomials, three-term polynomial, please remember there's going to be a couple different ways to do these. There's different factoring patterns for trinomials. And along those same lines, remember that a trinomial has three terms in it. So we have a generalization that we like to say, and that is this: ax squared plus or minus bx plus or minus c. There are a couple different factoring patterns that go with these trinomials. The first one we want to address today is ax squared plus or minus bx plus or minus c when a is 1. So in other words, the coefficient in front of your quadratic term is 1. Then this pattern falls into play. This could be a plus or minus sign here. B will be the coefficient on your linear term. This will be a plus sign or a minus sign, and this will be the constant. So when we go through these, after we write down our guidelines to follow, we'll do examples and the different combinations when we have sums and differences in between these. Standard form is the rule of thumb in terms of putting these into factoring. So that's kind of where we want to be with this stuff. So, let's begin. When we are factoring, a has to be 1, then these rules apply. If it's something other than 1, it's another factoring pattern, and we'll hit that in another lesson. So let's talk about this one first. You're going to have to find two factors of c, the constant. Find two factors of c. That means what times what equals c. It could be 1 times the number. It could be anything. Some numbers will have lots of factors to check. So knowing your factors is beneficial. Now, factors, but just not any old factor, they have to add up to be whatever this is. Whether it be a positive or negative, they have to add up to be negative blah 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 or positive blah blah blah. So this sign helps us in terms of determining what we got to do here. So find two factors of c that add up to be b, or add up to b. Great. Once we've done that, we're almost done. So now we're going to rewrite this trinomial as a product of two binomials. So we are reversing the FOIL process. Remember, first, outer, inner, last. Two binomials times two binomials. So we're going backwards now. We'll rewrite this as product two things in a parentheses times two other things in a parentheses. So it'll look something like this. So again, there's my 1. X squared plus or minus bx plus or minus c. There'll be an x. There will be a plus or minus sign here, one or the other. And then it'll be one of the factors of c. How do I know? Our examples will give you ideas as to how do I know if it's going to be a plus sign or a minus sign. Then we'll have x plus or minus the other factor of c. What factors of c do we use? Remember, the two that add up to be this. Now, where's the x come from? Where's this x come from? The two factors right here. The two factors of x squared, x times x. So there will be a plus or minus sign here. There'll be something. There will be a plus or minus sign here. There'll be something. They're factors of c that add up to be b. So you got the process. That's what it boils down to. You remember this, you're in business. So let's work through some examples and see how this plays out. So our first example, can't see that very well, can we? Our first example is this. So follows my pattern of ax squared plus or minus bx plus or minus c. So I'm in standard form. I happen to be plus a bx and plus a c. Okay. And there's coefficient of 1. So what do the rules tell us to do? Find two factors of c that add up to be b. Well, factors of positive 20. 1 and 20. 2 and 10. 3 doesn't work. 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, we're back to 10. We're back to our repeats. Now please remember though, Could a -1 times a -20 work? -2 times a -10 work? And -4 times a -5 work? The answer is yes. Those multiplied together give you 20. Then how do I know which ones to use? This sign right here. They have to add up to be a positive 9. When I add two negatives together, I'm not getting a positive number. So we get to use this list. So in this list, which ones add up to be 9? Those do. Now I'm going to be long and drawn out and very literal with my first couple examples. Eventually, you're going to be able to jump to the gun or jump to the end. So what are we doing? Well, there's my x squared. We're rewriting this as plus 4x plus 5x and then plus 20, which is what? Well, gee, that's going back to your greatest common factor. And do it by grouping. I got 4 terms. So now here's the shortcut. And it works with these trinomials. First of all, check this times this, 20. Check 4 plus 5, 9. So it checks and it checks. So go back to what we wrote down right here. Instead of going through all this grouping, which you can, jump the gun to make life easy for yourself. X, 2 factors of x squared, done. What are the 2 factors of c that we decided to use? 4 and 5. And they're both positive. Plus 4, plus 5, done. It has now been factored. You want to FOIL that to check it? Be my guest. X squared plus 5x plus 4x plus 20. Those are like terms. Don't be alarmed. It's a dog. And there we have it. X squared plus 9x plus 20. It checks. So let's try another one, shall we? Okay, so now look at the challenge we are presented here. And hopefully it's not a big challenge to you, but are we in standard form? The answer is no. So put it in standard form so it makes life easier for us. T squared plus 10t plus 9. Positive, okay? Positive. They're both positive means I'm only going to use positive factors of our constant. 1 and 9, 3 and 3. Which 2 of these factors add up to be 10? 3 plus 3, 6. 1 plus 9, 10. So we're using this set of factors. One t, or 1, sorry, plus 1. 1t here, plus 9. That's how easy this can be for you. All right, so now, what's next? I'm glad you asked. So we've gone to 2 examples where C is positive and B is positive. We use the positive factors, we write them in. Good. So what happens when, maybe if I can get this page, we have a different combination? Well, let's look. All right, our first example on this page is C is positive still, okay. But now B is negative. All right, so let's follow our rules. Our rules state that we have to find 2 factors of C that add up to be this. All right, what are my factors of C? In this case, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and then the repeats start. Now, when I add them up, do I get a -8? Not there, not there, not there. I get a positive 8 there. I need a -8. So this sign tells us don't use the positive list, use the negative list. -2 times -6, still positive 12. -2 plus positive 6 equals -8. There's what we want to use. So as we write this out, 2 factors of x squared are x and x. I want to use these 2 factors. You can put -2 here or here, doesn't matter. Let's go this route today. Oh, it's factored. Now we'll do more with the factors. We're just worried about practicing our factoring right now. Done. All right, let's explore the next one. Again, something thrown at us where there is 3 terms, trinomial, not in standard form. So let's put it in standard form. M squared minus 22m plus 21. So what do we need? 2 factors of a positive number. So they're either both got to be positive or they both got to be negative. But they add up to be a negative b term here. So it means what? Use the negative list. -1, -21, -3, -7. All right, not very many factors to choose from. Which 2 add up to be -22? Those 2 do. So again, because this is a 1, this allows this to happen. Because there's a 1 in front of our quadratic, we can say m here and m here through FOIL, it'll come back. We're using these, -1, -21. No tricks. I know some of you are probably sitting back thinking, all right, what's the catch? There are none. The only catch is you remembering factors and you doing your work. You remembering factors, you doing your work. So let's try the next scenario. All right, our final scenario gives us this situation. Notice what's different. C is now a negative number. All right, now when C is negative, remember all of our other ones, C has been positive. When C is negative, we just got to be a little bit more careful. I need 2 numbers that multiply together, factors, to give us a negative answer. Well, 1 times 15, 3 times 5, those are our factors. But now let's pay attention. Positive times positive isn't negative. So one of them's got to be a negative number. One of them's got to be a negative number. Or it's going to be that scenario. So yeah, you got to think a little bit more in terms of your guessing and checking. So then which sets do we use? Comes back to this. We need a positive 2 when we add them together. No, that's 14. That's -14. That's -2. That gives us a positive 2 when we add them together. So this would be the pair that we will use. Same deal. A is 1, so that gives us the quantity of x. Quantity of x. What's that say? -3, what's that say? +5. Let's see. -3 times 5, that. -3x. Positive 5x, add them together, 2x. What's x times x? X squared. Very good. So, we have it. So let's look at our next one. Now, so that gave us -c, positive b. Here, -c, -b. All right. So what do? Same thing. Got to worry about this first. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. One of them's got to be negative, or it's this. Those will be your negatives. So which ones do we use? We need the ones that when you add them together, you get a -2. I'll give you a second to figure out what pair you want to use. I know this is going to be R. I know this is going to be R. Have you decided which pair would make and fit our category? I hope you chose these 2. Add them together, -2. Multiply them together, -24. Now I haven't said it very much in the other problems, These quantities can be switched around, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying the values inside per se, but the quantities can be switched around. So keep that in mind. That's factoring a quadratic trinomial, as we'll call it, when a is equal to 1.